Gosh, I'm so good at this.
Great teamwork, great teamwork. Okay, and then some time for Q&A at the end, but I want to make sure that at any point in time, you can interrupt, raise your hand. This is an interactive. I love it when you guys have your screens on, even if you're on the trainer, even if you're eating dinner. It's really informal, but you can also type questions in the chat and I'll make sure to have those on at the end as well and leave time for that. All right, so the big mistakes that we see triathletes making kind of time and time again. The first one, not establishing baselines. And this is baselines in terms of blood DEXA scans, but it's also baselines in terms of where you're at with your fueling, your daily nutrition, but then also your fueling and hydration. So when it comes to blood baselines, have you had recent blood work done? This is a great time of year to do that. We recommend doing it twice a year. So you can see kind of leading into the season where you're at, where you're going, what things you need to work on, because there's enough time now really before those big A races in the late spring, early summer, that there's enough time to make nutritional interventions. It's also a great time to get that picture of where you're actually at. Sometimes that helps athletes stay on track when they realize, oh, my vitamin D is low, my cholesterol's high, my ferritin is low, and that kind of can kickstart some actions on your part. It's a great time to have a DEXA scan, looking at bone density and body composition. It's also a good time to see what you did last year and what you want to do this year. Were you consuming enough carbohydrates on your bike? How many were you consuming? You'd be surprised how many even professional triathletes can't tell me exactly, oh yeah, I consume 65 grams, 95 grams, 100 grams of carbohydrates on the bike. I consume 60 on the run. These are things you should know. It's important. It's something that you need to work on all season long. So really getting those baselines now, once you want that to be priority number one. Creating goals without systems. We're going to talk a little bit about habit formation, so I'm just going to touch on this. If you don't have the systems in place to achieve those goals, so it's just saying, I want to qualify for Kona, but you haven't hired a coach, you're not working on your nutrition, you're not getting your daily sleep and prioritizing that with family and work and social obligations. If you don't have those systems in place, goals aren't, those big lofty goals aren't going to happen. Lack of reflection. Look at what you did last year. Look at what went right, what went wrong, look at what changes you want to make. If this is your first year, look at other athletes that you've seen, talk to your coach, talk to different other athletes in your training community, see what they did right and they did wrong. If you don't know what you've done, you can't really build on that. Next, following the one macro approach. There's a reason we have all of them. There's a reason that we like to include them in every meal. Fat isn't bad. That's not going to make you fat. Carbohydrates are not the devil. They're actually really, really wonderful and crucial for performance. Protein is a lifesaver, and most triathletes, most people in general, are not getting nearly enough. And even those that say, oh yeah, I eat a lot of protein, when we have them start tracking and actually looking at portion sizes and how much they're getting, they're not getting what they thought they were getting. You need a well-rounded, balanced whole food with some quote unquote good foods, bad foods, fun foods, processed foods. It takes all of that in order to build a healthy athlete. And then last, too much focus on equipment and not on themselves. I can't tell you how many times I've seen athletes spend thousands of dollars to take, maybe half a pound of weight off of their bike, and yet they are carrying around an extra 5 or 10 pounds with them. Or they want to buy the best wheels, but yet they're not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. They, have put all this money into their tools, but yet not actually put money in or focus on their body, which really is, if you can have the most expensive bike in the world, you can have the best coach, you can have the fastest, Nike running shoes, but if you're not taking care of your body and making that a priority, on race day, you're not going to see the results that you want. Okay. So when I was speaking about goals, James Clear, as we talk about habit formation, if you haven't read his book, Atomic Habits, I highly recommend it, especially this time of year. Super impactful, all of the takeaway tips. And he has been on 100 podcasts, especially recently with like New Year's resolutions and things like that. So you can find him on pretty much all the top podcasts. His quote, goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. For example, last year, if you ate out a lot, you can say, okay, my goal is to cook more at home. But if you don't actually create a system where you set your kitchen up, where you make shopping lists, where you prioritize time and set up a routine and a system, when you get tired or busy or hungry, you're still going to go out to eat. So putting those systems in place and putting your health first, that's how you make progress, not just setting that big goal. So some common goal mistakes that we see, again, this is from James Clear, changing everything at once. I've seen a lot of athletes, especially this time of year. I'd say I'm going plant-based. I'm giving up alcohol entirely. I'm never eating fast food again. And I'm going to start including fermented foods. And I'm going to find a new protein powder. And I'm going to do this. No, pick one. Pick one thing that you really want to work on and prioritize, and then build upon that. That's starting with one huge habit, seeking a result and not a ritual. If you are saying, I want to, and fill in the blank, lose 10 pounds, but you're not actually giving yourself a ritual where you control portion sizes, where you prioritize protein, where you balance carbohydrates based on energy needs, unless you have that ritual in place, the result isn't going to happen. Not changing your environment. But towards the end, I'm going to talk about some of our favorite Fuelin kind of tools to have in the kitchen. You're not going to enjoy cooking and making healthy meals if you don't have some of the right tools, if you haven't taken the time to organize your kitchen so that it's efficient, if you're not buying foods that you like. I hate peas. I admit it. I know I should love all the vegetables. I hate peas, so I don't buy them. I love Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower, so I make sure I have those. I set my environment up for the goal and the ritual that I want to create. And lastly, assuming small changes don't matter. Every little bit of progress counts towards something. Those that are on the trainer right now listening, this is what I'm talking about. That small, like making a difference, getting your training in every day, that consistency, that's what's going to help you get to your health and wellness and performance goals. All right, so according to James and most research, how do we actually get these results and become healthy, productive, thriving athletes? His 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious. So have a cue for yourself. If you are, let's say you had your blood work done and you realize you're low in vitamin D, omega-3s, and iron. How can you make it obvious that you want to take the necessary supplements every day? Well, you put them right by right by your car keys, like set your cart so that you're doing it in the morning, or get one of those pill boxes so you see them, and then set an alarm to fill that every week. Make it attractive. If you're going to have them with your breakfast, because vitamin D, especially fat soluble vitamin, set it up, have your breakfast, and know when I'm eating breakfast, that meal that I love, that's when I'm going to take my supplements. Make it easy. Lay those things out the night before, have that pill box, and then make it satisfying. Recheck your blood work in 6 to 8 weeks and see if you're actually making progress. Another one, again, for behavior change would be if you want to consume less alcohol. You say, okay, I'd like to, alcohol. Obvious would be get the alcohol out of the house. But if not, set up a specific event or time that you're going to do it, make it attractive. Look at how much money you were spending, put that towards something else, make it easy. Don't go down the wine aisle, don't go to Bevmo or wherever. and then make it satisfying when if you follow that and follow through on that goal. Treat yourself to a really nice dinner, treat yourself to a new pair of shoes. I don't know how much you spend on wine. Sometimes it can be a lot. That could be a new race kit, something that will help with that habit formation. And then on the opposite, breaking a habit, you want to make it invisible. When it comes to food and nutrition goals, if you are trying to, let's say, eat less junk processed foods, take it out of the house. I mean, that's the easiest part of it, invisible. Substitute it. Okay, you eat a lot of maybe, I don't know, potato chips, right? Find some healthier chip alternatives. There are plenty. I'm the chip queen. If you want recommendations, I can make them. Remove triggers. If you know that you snack while watching TV, either have a different snack, maybe some kind of healthy popcorn, or like get a yogurt cup, freeze it, make your own frozen yogurt, and then remove that trigger. So read at night, or walk on the treadmill, or sit on the trainer when you watch your favorite program, instead of sitting there on again, I know I love the couch too. I have watch all the things, but taking that trigger away will help. And then Jane says, be your new identity. Actually telling yourself, as silly as it sounds, I'm the person that doesn't, I don't eat potato chips anymore. I make my own. I eat healthy. I do this. Like, create that new identity for yourself so that you can start living in it. All right, before we move on, any questions on, I guess I should look in the chat. Any questions on habit formation, or?
I have a question about the blood work, and I don't know if you want me to ask now or at the end.
Yeah, now's great.
Who do you recommend doing that? There's a lot of third parties that do it right now, and it can be extremely expensive. Or do you just say, go to your doctor? What do you recommend doing for that?
Great question. I would say always first try with your physician, because usually that means it's covered under insurance. The problem there is, if you're like me, if you have Kaiser or one of the like HMO PPOs, they're very hesitant to actually do a full blood panel. So if you go to your own healthcare provider, you have to be what I call your own advocate. Speak up and go in with a list. You can take it. I can send it. I'll send you what we recommend as a follow-up when I do the recording. Taking a list in and say, these are the tests I need. These are why I need them. And it's not because they'll say, oh, this is an extensive list. And that's when you have to speak up and say, I'm an endurance athlete. I'm training X amount of hours a week. Athletes are traditionally low in vitamin D, iron, B12, magnesium. I'm higher in cortisol and CK and hemoglobin. I'm asking for these things because I ask more of my body. And so you really have to be willing to speak up. And at least 50% of the time, your physician will say, okay, thank you. I see the reasoning for this. Let's do it. If they don't, at the very least, get that basic blood panel done, because knowing glucose, knowing cortisol, knowing liver enzymes, cholesterol, that's still important information. So if that's the best you can do, anything, it's kind of that good, better, best, anything is better than nothing. And it will tell you a basic hormone level, a basic iron. It's not going to give you the full iron panel. It's certainly not going to test red cell magnesium like we like. It's not going to do the omega-3 index, but it's something. And then as far as the companies go, I have used Inside Tracker for, 8 years, and I've always liked them. Fuelin likes them. We've worked with them before. We have, I think, a 20% off discount. I'll put that in the email as well that you can use. And they had a great kind of end of year promo where I think you got 50% off. They just did one that was like buy 2, get 1 free. So there are definitely options, and there's also options in the pricing as well. The ultimate package versus, I don't know, I think they call it the Schilling Flanagan package. I think it's about $250. Okay. So that is doable. I would say last resort would be a different outside company that isn't designed specifically for athletes, that will test an extensive number of tests that, unless you have health issues, you really don't need to have all of that done. I would say a test, and I'm going to put it on our Fuelin as soon as I get my results back. It's called an omega-3 index test. You can get it at Walgreens. You can order it. I ordered mine on Amazon. It's a $79. It's a finger prick at home, and it shows you your ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. So it's an intracellular actual blood marker to see what your omega levels are. And the reason that I say that and Inside Tracker doesn't offer it yet, despite all of my asking for this test, because we know so much about the inflammatory properties of omega-6s and 9s, and we know how important omega-3 is, it's definitely $79 well spent, especially if you're taking an omega-3 supplement, or if you think, I'm fine, I eat a couple servings of fish a week, or if you're a plant-based athlete, because you might be missing out on some of that DHA and EPA. Again, I'll put that in the link to the one I like. You can find them just about anywhere. I think you can even, $49 to $99 online. And it's kind of fun. I don't know if you're like me, I like to be a science experiment, little finger prick, put it in the mail. 2 weeks later, you get your results. Cool. So, good question about the blood work though, for sure. Right. Okay, I will come back to, yes, I will make sure that the email with the recording of this, discount code, Inside Tracker info, all that stuff will come in the mail. And then thoughts on caffeine and its role in nutrition. I'm going to save this till the end, but it's a great question. It's a performance enhancer. I love it, especially if you have the genome that you're a caffeine responder, which not everybody is.
Did you catch Mike's discussion on nutrition recovery as well?
Oh, no, I didn't see that. I'll go back thank you.
Okay.
Sometimes to go scroll all the way back up at the end.
All right, sounds good.
So setting up your environment, this is part of that habit formation. Clear out the crap. It's easier to avoid temptation than to resist it. So if you say, oh, I can keep this stuff in the house, if you know you like brown sugar Pop-Tarts, which I happen to love, I don't keep those in the house because I love them and they're easy to snack on. And I know if it's here, I'm going to grab it. So whatever that crap temptation is that you're trying to avoid, and Pop-Tarts are fine. Chips are fine. Donuts are fine. There's no bad food. There's just a better time for some of these options. And so if you know that you snack late at night, just to snack late at night, don't keep those foods in the house that you like avoid that temptation, clear it out. Focusing on whole foods first. I think it's really scary. The 57% of the calories that we ingest are from ultra processed foods. And granted, that isn't specifically the Ironman triathlete environment, but some of us I wouldn't say are that far off. So getting your you're getting your calories in every day from whole foods, grains, people, carbohydrates are bad. Nope. Certain processed carbohydrates are not good for you. Quinoa, rice, starchy vegetables, regular vegetables have carbohydrates in them. All of those are wonderful. You want to get them from those whole food or minimally processed foods as possible. And then stocking healthy basics. If your environment is set up, if you have these things in the house, I can't say it's going to guarantee that you will actually prepare them, but it is going to significantly increase your chances of eating better. So where protein, chicken thighs or chicken breasts, salmon, either canned or fresh or frozen, steak, ground beef, ground turkey, if you're looking at fats and or protein, yogurt, eggs, nuts, seeds, and then carbohydrates. Obviously, there are those vegetables, spinach, arugula, bell peppers, cucumbers, rolled oats. I mean, gosh, we're triathletes. We should just have monthly subscriptions to whatever oatmeal it is that we love. chia seeds, hemp seeds, rice, white or brown. There's not much of a difference. If you prefer white, go white. If you prefer brown, go brown. Have a mix. Same thing, whole wheat pastas, those protein like garbanzo bean or lentil pastas, all of those. Keep those in the house so that you're ready to make a healthy, nutrient-dense meal. Tips and tricks. Let's see, planning ahead. I think just like you wouldn't get on the trainer and just, start training without some kind of a plan, knowing what you're, going to have after a session, knowing what you're going to be eating that day it's going to be a game changer in terms of actually getting the nutrients that you need. Having easy to go options when required. Sports bars, protein shakes, packs of tuna, hard-boiled eggs, getting some deli meat at the beginning of the week and using that to snack on. I'll make a batch of turkey meatballs and keep those in the fridge because they're easy to grab and have as a snack. Make things convenient for you, and that's how you're going to start eating better. Something is better than nothing. It really is true. Especially if you're training first thing in the morning. So you wake up, you either do or don't have time to have some kind of a snack. You do a 90-minute hard trainer session or a swim, and then you are either getting ready for work or getting the kids ready for school or just going about your day, and all of a sudden you realize it's 10 o'clock in the morning and you haven't had anything to eat. You should have had something, and that's where that protein bar, protein shake, something to start that refueling process, that's important. And I have on here even chocolate milk or chocolate almond milk. You might have to add some carbohydrate to that because it's a little lower in carbohydrates and protein. Don't get hung up on having the perfect meal, because for the most part, there is no one perfect meal. There are a lot of perfect meals. The things that you like, meeting your nutritional requirements, but skipping meals altogether is only going to set you up for failure later on. And then fortifying. Adding, especially when we tell athletes you need 140 grams, 200 grams of protein, they look at us like, how am I ever going to get all that in? And this is where adding protein powder to things, adding yogurt to things, adding cottage cheese, it's making a comeback. When I was much younger, college years, cottage cheese and pineapple, like canned pineapple, was the thing to do, and that was like the diet of choice. And then cottage cheese was not popular for a while because I think we all had too much of it. But it is back. It is being used with fruits, with nut butters. It's being used in savory dishes. You can put it on toast with sliced tomato and sardines. You can mix it in with scrambled eggs to add some protein content and general fluffiness to your scrambled eggs. You can blend it and it kind of makes it almost liquid, and you can add that to a smoothie for doesn't alter the taste that much. So fortifying the foods that you're already eating, making protein overnight oats, adding protein to making sure you're adding enough protein to a smoothie bowl, something like that, using a protein pasta, adding hemp seeds to something, 2 tablespoons gives you about 10 grams of plant-based protein. So again, finding ways to add things into your diet and making each meal more nutritionally dense. All right, some practical solutions. I like this. Matt Fitzgerald. The most common mistake made by athletes seeking to lose fat is trying to prioritize this goal at the same time they are actively training for one or more upcoming events. The reason that I like to do the work on changing your diet, work on if body composition is a goal, work on changing that now, is because once you get into race season, that's not the time to be, trying to lose a significant amount of weight or trying to try a new dietary pattern. You want to be focused on performance. You want to be focused on training, on sleep. So really prioritizing health first And then if need be, body composition and those kinds of things, do that one at a time. And now is the good time, again, this month, next month, to really kind of lean into that. So with Fuelin, what we try to point out is training-based nutrition with a focus. So when you're looking at your day-to-day training and nutrition goals, the first thing you want to do, what is the primary purpose of my training and fueling today? Is my training, is my goal to perform? Is my goal to work on body composition? Those two, they're not mutually exclusive, but it's better to separate those and work on them individually. What's my training focus? Is this a key session? Is it zone 3, 4? Is this something that I need, a benchmark set that I really need to perform, or is it a recovery ride? Because your nutrition will change for both of those. Target weight. Am I where I want to be? Can I implement time restricted feeding? What is my goal? Should I do fasted sessions? Should I not? So all of these questions, again, we take them into consideration with the app so that you don't have to worry about them. But in the back of your mind, as you're thinking and trying to work on your own nutrition, these are some of the things that you need to be asking yourself so that you know what you need to prioritize. And I wanted to give a little sample just so you could see within the app how you can manage 2 different days. So the first 2 on the left are a Tuesday session, and you can see this athlete in their daily view, they have a bike. We recommended that they have a snack, lunch, another snack. You can see in this one, their training session, it was a zone 1, 2 session. We reminded them to log their sweat rate, which we'll talk about later. So this day, we color code the meals, red, yellow, or green. Red are lower carbohydrate meals or sessions, yellow are moderate, and green are high. So overall, the day in general is a higher carbohydrate day, but each meal is only in that meal and snack is only in that moderate. And in this bike, this zone 1 bike, minimal carbohydrates because it is a shorter duration, lower intensity ride. Versus this Saturday session, they have a swim in the morning. They have a bike in the afternoon that is a higher intensity bike. So we're not only recommending a snack before they do their swim, but then a moderate carbohydrate lunch, higher carbohydrate fueling during their bike session, higher carb snack in the afternoon, and then a higher carb dinner to help refuel and get them ready for whatever they have that following Sunday. Just a general, I think this is always helpful to see what post-session fueling looks like and to kind of give you, again, in the app, we're doing all of this calculation for you. After a training session, you are looking to replenish glycogen stores, reduce cortisol levels, promote muscle repair and recovery, and prepare for either a second session later in the day or whatever sessions you have coming up the following day. Nutrition, whole food focus. Ideally, you're looking at 30 to 40 grams of protein, 10 to 20 grams of fat, and 30 to 100 grams of carbohydrates, depending, again, body composition goals, what that session was, what you're going to be eating later in the day. So if it was, again, a lower carbohydrate session, down here we have avocado on toast with smoked salmon. So 16 grams of protein, again, a little under that 30, but you could supplement that with a protein shake. 18 grams of carbohydrates, so about 300 calories. If the session was a little longer, moderate intensity, we've got banana protein waffles. The protein should say 26 on there, not 6. I have to fix that. And again, 61 grams of carbs. And then if it's that higher carbohydrate session, you can see eggs, toast, oats, 40 grams of protein, 20 grams of fat, and 100 grams of carbohydrates. So really looking at trying to meet those with whole food meals and ingredients. Not only is that going to help with satiety, but it's going to help with needed vitamins, minerals, proper refueling, but that takes time. So like I said before, you want to plan your diet, set yourself up for success, create these habits, go into your training sessions knowing how you're going to refuel properly afterwards. And then ideally it's that within 2 hours of completing your session. That magic kind of 30-minute window is really only crucial if you went into a training session fasted, or you did that training session fasted. Then the sooner you can get that recovery process started, the better. All right, so some of my top favorite kind of fueling tools to have in your kitchen. Absolutely a high-speed blender. Doesn't matter if it's a Vitamix, a Magic Bullet, whatever. And an air fryer. I don't know if you want to take a poll who has an air fryer, but if you haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, for time-starved athletes, as well as like wanting food to be crunchy and taste good, and an air fryer is just an essential, awesome tool to have, especially for vegetables, for salmon, to get that crispy salmon skin, which you should all be eating. Don't peel off the skin. It's where a lot of the nutrients are. And when it's crispy, it's actually pretty good. Crock pot, Instapot, Dutch oven. I use that at least twice a week, especially for making larger meals that you want to save for leftovers. Glass jars and containers, essential for leftovers, but also to kind of get rid of some plastic. Sheet pan, cast iron skillet, spiralizer. Again, sheet pans I use every single day, pretty much. And the cast iron skillet, great, especially if your iron levels are low, cooking in that. A kitchen scale can be useful while you're learning portion sizes. I think a lot of times, in our mind, we think one thing, and then when we actually weigh something out, it's dramatically different. The two areas I see that the most are when people do a nut butter. I'm guilty of this. There's a big, like, have you ever actually measured out a tablespoon? It's so tiny. And a food scale, so a lot of times we'll think, oh, I'm sure I'm getting, 6 ounces of chicken, and then we weigh it out and it's like, oh, this is 3 ounces. Or if you buy your chicken breast from Costco, you're like, oh, this is 9 ounces. This is plenty, because everything there is supersized. Measuring cups, obviously. Quality knives. This is one of Scott's, like, big. I'm still on the cheap knife. As long as they're sharp, it is what it is. But a quality knife set can make cooking very fun. And then good cutting boards. So back to that, setting up your environment. Having all of these tools really will help make cooking fun and functional. All right, so some key takeaways. Get your systems in place. Look back at the last year, decide what things you need to work on, what areas, were successful, what areas will most benefit you this year, and then set up some systems. I have found with a lot of the athletes that I work with one-on-one, if we create a day that they do, we run their plans on Sundays. So then they'll look at their plan for the week and know, okay, it's, I'm going to need to they make a shopping list. They look at recipes for the week. They plan what the week's going to look like. Then they do their food shopping on a certain day. Then they do their meal prep on a certain day. They know, okay, Mondays are fish, doesn't really matter which kind. Tuesdays are going to be this. Wednesdays, my family is super busy. So that's going to be the night that we eat out, because I'm driving kids around to 8 different practices, or I get home from work late and I have to train, so I'm not going to have time to cook. Set that system up. Start, if refueling after your training sessions is something that you just don't do well or forget to do. When you're before you start that session, get out the bowl that you're going to put oatmeal in, line up the protein powder, line up the chia seeds or the hemp seeds, have it all ready, have the water in the kettle ready to boil, so that when you get off the trainer, or when you're back from the pool, you have that system in place to properly refuel. Be objective in your approach. Really be honest with yourself. what is it going to take to make me a healthier human, a better performing athlete, and then look at what you need to do to get there. Set yourself up for success in the kitchen, stock your fridge with things that are going to be great for you to eat that you also like, get some fun tools, order yourself, I don't know, when I got my new air fryer, I had an old one, I got a new one at Christmas. It was very exciting. I was, excited to use it. So whatever is going to motivate you in the kitchen, if that's nice knives, a new blender, you want one of those torches to flambe things, whatever, make it fun. And then consistency and adherence always wins. I say, and I think it's Jesse Thomas actually who did this first, but like a B+ average is better than an A on a Tuesday and an A 7 weeks from now. Like, just be consistent with being consistent, and that's how you're going to see results. That's how you're going to, be great 80-85% of the time is going to produce successful, positive results. So just a look at the Fuelin system for those of you that are interested. It's simple and personalized. So we've created this app so you have it right on your phone. It syncs with Training Peaks, Today's Plan, what's the other one? Final Surge. The biggest benefit that we see with athletes is that it removes that decision paralysis. So the app takes in 70, 80 calculations at once, looking at what your training is that day, what you did the day before, what your goal weight is, what the intensity of the session is, what you have later that day, what you have over the course of a week. And then not having to decide, how many carbohydrates do I have to have with this meal? What am I supposed to eat for this day? The recipe has apps that the app has recipes that you can choose from. The traffic light system, it becomes really easy to open up your day and look and see, oh yeah, it's a red day, so my meals are going to be lower carbohydrates, 30 grams or less at these meals. Oh, it's a higher carbohydrate day, and you'll start to recognize which meals that you make on a consistent basis are low, medium, or high carbohydrate. Personalized in that it matches your specific training program. It's purpose driven. If you really want to work on performance, we're going to make sure that you're getting enough carbohydrates, that you're doing carbohydrate testing regularly, increasing gut sensitivity, gut permeability, and then that health and performance focus. If you have blood labs done and we see you're low in certain things, we can make sure that you're choosing recipes that will include those ingredients. So again, download the Fuelin app, sync it with your training plan, training and eating, measuring your progress, tracking your macros, sweat rate, carbohydrate capacity, body weight goals. Every week we do a live Q&A, Scott and I, on Thursdays with our athletes for an hour where they can ask questions, where we pick topics such as caffeine. I think this week is a whole food approach, talking about supplements. So it's really all encompassing. The education component is important to both Scott and myself, and that's where teaching you guys how and what information you need to make these good decisions on a daily basis is something that's really important to us. Again, we're partnered with The Feed, which is actually really nice. This is new this year. I don't know how many of you use The Feed. It's an excellent place to get all of your supplements, try different things. Fuelin athletes get a credit at The Feed to use. It's easy to order straight from the app. We've selected products that we know work for athletes, so it's easy to log there. And then to end with a James Clear quote, you don't rise to your level of expectations, you fall to the level of your system. So creating that system is the ideal method for success. All right, let's take a look at some of these questions. If anyone wants to, if you want to speak up, turn your camera on or mic on and ask a question first, we'll do those, and then I'll go into the chat for questions.
I think Mike asked about nutrition and recovery. Did she cover that, or did you have any specifics?
Muted.
Still unmuted.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I guess when it comes to nutrition and recovery, Mike, I'm going to guess what you were wondering. What nutrients are best for recovery? That would be protein and carbohydrates sooner rather than later. So that's, again, that not skipping that meal, properly refueling with enough. And I think if you can remember to get in 30 to 40 grams of protein, and depending on your session, 30 to 100 grams of carbohydrates, you'll be set up fairly well. Trying to think if there's like myths or questions that people ask commonly when it comes to recovery. I think underfueling is really what would lead to improper recovery. So making sure that you're eating enough and eating regularly, especially if you have a second session later in the day. The sooner you eat, the sooner you rehydrate, carbohydrates especially in that instance, so that your body is prepared and recovered for the following session, for the following day.
Next was thoughts on caffeine and its role in your nutrition plan.
Excellent. Caffeine is absolutely a performance enhancer. It's one of the few ergogenic aids that we know does what it says it's going to do. Individually, though, it depends if you are a responder or not. Some of us can have caffeine at 8 p.m. at night and go to bed at 9. Others, they have to cut off caffeine at 10. So caffeine has a half-life of about 4 to 6 hours. And this is where it's important that you know how you respond to caffeine, that you're testing and working on your race nutrition throughout the year. A lot of times athletes will get to, they're 2 weeks out from their race and they say, okay, can you write me a race nutrition plan? And I repeatedly say, what we've been doing the entire time, that is your race nutrition. You should be, if you are racing in May, you should be working on your race nutrition, certainly should be working on it now. Every session that you have the opportunity, brick sessions, longer run sessions, high intensity sessions, those are all opportune times to be testing, to be training your gut, to be looking at your hydration needs. In the app, we do sweat testing, which is, fluid loss, not sodium testing. Precision Hydration does that. Other companies do that. And it's worthwhile taking a look at, but how much fluid are you taking in? How much fluid are you losing? What products are actually working for you? So in respect specifically to caffeine, that would be, are you consuming caffeine on a daily basis? If so, how much? How does your body respond to it? And then utilizing it in some key training sessions to see. Some people will have a gel with caffeine and they will feel it instantly. That instant boost. Other athletes will take that gel and they'll feel it in 20 minutes, or they might not feel it at all. They might need more caffeine. So this is where your individual caffeine tolerance comes into play. And, we in general will recommend athletes in their Ironman race use caffeine on the second half of the bike and the second half of the run. And that's, again, where testing is implemented. I'm very hesitant. There isn't a lot of caffeine in caffeinated gels. So that might be where caffeine pills, I'm not recommending them, or caffeine drinks like Red Bull or something like that, testing that out in your training and seeing what helps best with you, and the dosage required for your individual goals and kind of tolerance. But yes, absolutely. And I think we've learned through science now that, like quitting coffee the week before your race isn't really going to have that big of an impact. It's not going to all of a sudden magically make you really feel the caffeine boost stronger. It might actually give you headaches and withdrawal symptoms, and then you won't be sleeping well and you'll be cranky. So it will actually be detrimental to cut that out. So if you regularly consume caffeine, consume it. If it's interfering with your sleep, I would say cut it out earlier in the day, because sleep is more important, and that's going to give you a better performance, better recovery than that caffeine shot would. Let's see.
We have, is there a natural legal way to compensate for low T3 and T4 in blood work?
Natural and legal, but I'm glad that we specified. I would say in general, most of the testosterone supplements that you see on the market are either dangerous, not effective, or based on some pretty shady science. The best things that you can do for testosterone: strength training and sleep. Like, easy. You should be doing strength training anyway. I can't highlight that enough, but dedicated, heavy lifting, strength training. And
she does that too. Haley does that a lot too. That's crazy that you're low. Are you low, Haley? She's on mute, I think.
Oh.
I am. I got my blood work back, and my thyroid's low, my testosterone's low, which is shocking.
Yeah, because you're a heavy lifter.
Yeah.
So that could be if your hormones are off. Was your vitamin D status all right?
Everything else came back normal.
So normal for you or normal for athletes? And I only say that because sometimes, like with vitamin D, they're like, oh, 40 to 80. And it's like, not really. 65 to 70 is where I like to see endurance athletes. Like, that's optimal for us. So, and I only ask because that can affect testosterone production as well.
You said vitamin D?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have to look later. I'm still on the trainer.
Okay. So yes. So that low vitamin D could affect that. There are certain, again, you have to be careful because things like ashwagandha and rhodiola, those are adaptogenic herbs. Those can help with overall hormonal production. So that might be something to look into. But if your hormones are off, that's definitely a sign that something, like as a complete package, something isn't right. So higher cortisol, potentially not enough recovery or not the right kind of recovery, potentially not enough protein in your diet. So I would kind of look at take all of those different factors into control. But I would definitely not just start supplementing with. The funny thing is, with females, we have more testosterone than we do estrogen, but yet we're so significantly lower than males when it comes to testosterone that sometimes we place too much emphasis on testosterone as opposed to overall hormonal health. So yeah, we can, happy to talk about that offline. Let's see, Mitch, is there such a thing as too much oatmeal, 5 bowls a day?
Yeah, Elizabeth, I got a fun one for you. So
Okay.
My wife and I are in a debate because
Okay.
I'm a little bit of an addict. So I'll leave it up to you to settle.
Well, you realize I'm gonna just go with your wife, like off the basis of just like, she's right. We're just gonna make this a happy home. But no, in reality, there's oatmeal is fantastic for you. I eat probably 2 bowls a day. I travel with it. I don't leave home without my oatmeal because I know what I like, and it's excellent in all the things. Helps with cholesterol, helps with fiber, helps with inflammation, helps with digestion. It's an excellent carbohydrate source full of B vitamins. If it's breaking the family budget, I would say maybe let's find some other alternatives. But overall, I think you know, I don't know. Do you not like any other carbohydrates? Like, could we not mix?
No, I do. Yeah, I get a wide ranging in addition. But yeah, no, we go to Costco and get the big tub of oats.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Of course, it's probably it's one of my favorite. I love it when I get to be involved in marital disputes and settle things. Yeah, I think it's, again, if you're consuming more than you should, or maybe like the lesser quality oatmeals, but I'm the wrong person to ask. I should have an I love oatmeal bumper sticker on my car if I put those on. I'd love it. So yeah, you can't go wrong.
If I find that sticker, I'll get you one.
Please do. Please do. It's yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, just use it. Jason had an excellent suggestion. Just use a bigger bowl. That's right. The 5 bowls, if you use like the servings, the salad serving style bowl, it just becomes one. I like this group. You guys are a good. Jason says Bob's Red Mill. That's great. I like the Purely Elizabeth oats, not just because my name is Elizabeth. They have the blueberry banana flavor.
It's really good.
Picky Oats. I was like a diehard Picky Oats fan for years. But they don't make my matcha flavor anymore, and I really loved that one. Let's see. Blake asks, do these workout parameters auto-populate into the app? Yes. I think you're asking if Training Peaks will put your workouts into the app. Yes, they do.
He also followed up with asking if it produces grocery lists based on meal recommendations.
Not yet. That's like version. There are only 5 of us, and I do not know how to program, despite the one computer programming class I took in college because my dad made me. So we are slowly adding to. Eventually, we will either sync with an app that does make shopping lists, or we will have that feature embedded in. So it's coming. It's coming.
And Haley also asked about Android.
It's not yet. I'm sorry. I know we are not trying to blatantly discriminate against Android users. I had a Pixel for years. Pretty much the reason I went back was so 1, I could FaceTime with my nieces, and 2, because I needed to use the app and actually do my job. So it's we were looking at late 2023, but I think now it'll be 2024.
Okay.
Let's see. How do you make sure to execute the plan when life happens? Mike, great question. I would say accept that sometimes life happens, and that's all right. Don't give up. What's the saying? Don't throw the baby in with the bathwater, as awful as that sounds. If you have that off meal or off day, don't let it ruin the whole week. The plan is not just each day. The plan is the whole week. The plan is the whole month. The plan is the whole season. So being able to look at it from that perspective. And then in terms of kind of when life gets in the way of these things, that's why, people make fun of me, but that's why I always carry a packet of jerky in my purse. I always have hemp seeds to add to whatever dish. If we're eating out, I'll have a package of canned tuna or a protein bar. Or I know, if my friends and family, if we're going out to pizza, it's not there's not a lot of protein in that. So I know before bed, I'll have a protein shake so I can meet my needs for that day. So it's really just kind of being adaptable and also giving yourself grace that life does happen. But I honestly think the longer and more regularly you do it, kind of like anything, you get better at managing life.
It's better to have a bunch of B- days than just an occasional A+ day.
Absolutely. Exactly that. Let's see. Blake, I can follow directions. Yes, that's good. That's what we like. Common mistakes for plant-based athletes. Heavy reliance on carbohydrates. And I have nothing against carbohydrates, but the starches, the pastas, and then some of the plant-based or vegan treats or vegan meats, if you will, or vegan processed foods. Processed foods are processed foods. So I see a lot definitely not getting enough protein, not supplementing with vitamin B12 and omega-3s. And we did a video, you can see it on the Fuelin Instagram. I did one about a vegan option or plant-based option for an omega-3. I would say that's pretty essential. And then the planning component, I see if plant-based athletes, like it's already hard enough for those that will eat all the things to kind of meet all their needs. Plant-based athletes really have to be diligent about making sure that they are getting and meeting all of those needs, because otherwise you're going to miss things. Let's see. No grocery list. And no, yeah, doesn't sync with Instacart just yet, unfortunately. All right, I think that's through all the questions, and it's just about time, which I'm never just on time. So any others, anything else, follow-up questions? Oh, I'm going to type in the chat. Have to look it up. I think it's Jonathan, one of the co-founders, made a 20% off code. Ooh. So if you are looking at the app and want to sign up, it is Waterfall 20 for 20% off your first month. There will also be a survey at the end of this. If you could just take 2 minutes, I know some of you are on your trainer, to fill it out. So it's just feedback for me on what could have been better, or what you liked, or any follow-up questions. That would be really helpful for me. And then I'll know what to make sure I include in a follow-up email for you guys. All right. I think the next one of these that we do, we'll do gut training and hydration, like gut carbohydrates and hydration. I think as we get more into the season would probably be beneficial and kind of fun. Just out of curiosity, how many of you are getting 90 to 100 grams of carbohydrates an hour on your bike? The face Mike was like, no, not me. Yeah, there you go. In those key sessions. And again, they don't all require it, but it's important that you practice it so that on race day, your gut is ready to tolerate that. So next time in next month, we'll highlight that. We'll talk about it.
Perfect. Well, thank you. That was great. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks.